Howdy folks, Spencer here, and today I'll be reviewing the Gamesir G7HE wired Xbox controller, and I'll be seeing how it compares against the standard Xbox controller. As always, chapters to each topic are listed down below. And before I get too far into things, Gamesir did provide me with this controller in exchange for me doing a video review on it. However, they have no influence on what I am saying in this video, and they are not being provided with a copy of this review ahead of time. So starting with the basics, the G7HE is available in either a white or black color scheme, and there is also occasionally some branded variants available. For instance, there's an Iron Man version on some of the stores like AliExpress and Walmart, but it does also feature quite a bit of customization, as I'll go over here in a few minutes. This has a retail price of around $45 to $50, which puts it right up against your standard Xbox controller price-wise. And inside the box, alongside the controller, you have a 3-meter long detachable cable. The side going into the controller is USB-C, and the side going into your console, Steam Deck, or PC is going to be USB-A. And for the controller, there is enough room in there that you could use a different USB-C cable if you wanted. So you're not forced to use their cable if you don't want to. You also have a Gamesir sticker, a month of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, their manual, which is just quite beefy. There's a lot of languages covered there. You've got their quality certification badge, and then you have a link to all of their socials. And while this is an Xbox controller, it is fully compatible with Windows 10, 11, and the Steam Deck's SteamOS. You can see it running on my Steam Deck right now. It shows up as a generic Xbox controller. And on my Windows 11 system, the only difference was I did have to hold down the Xbox symbol until it lit up for it to be turned on and actually appear on my desktop. A quick note, the light is not going to come from the Xbox symbol, it's that little light above it. So if you're using this on Windows, just make sure to hit that. When you see the light, then it is connected and ready to go. Next up, I want to go over the features that they advertise that sets the G7HE apart from your standard Xbox controller. So you've got Hall Effect 3D joysticks and also Hall Effect analog triggers with vibrations. And you can actually see the Hall Effect joysticks, as I'll show here in a moment. And if you're not familiar with Hall Effect technology, it's basically magnetic sensors, which are going to be more reliable. They have a better lifespan because there's less moving parts, being it's magnetic. You're not going to have the drift issues you would see with your standard potentiometer-based joysticks. You have the potential to be more accurate because, again, it's magnets. Overall, it's just a better quality type of sensor to put in a controller. You've got tactile face buttons, which are clicky and ultra responsive. So here's the original Xbox controller. You're familiar probably with what those sound like. And here is the switches on the G7HE. It's like going from a membrane keyboard over to a mechanical keyboard. It is a very nice improvement. You also have anti-friction glide rings on the G7 to help give a little bit extra friction to the joysticks to be a bit more precise. You have 2 mappable back buttons. And you have these rubberized textured grips, which are a huge improvement over the textured plastic that you see on the original Xbox controller. And in addition, the G7HE features some really nice customization options. The entire faceplate on the front of this does detach. It's held on by magnets. And there's a notch at the top here. If you put a finger on that and then right at the bottom and pull forward, it'll pop right off. And they have a bunch of different colored options that you can get for this, and there's also some that are co-branded with games or stuff like that. And I think they're typically about $10 for the different faceplate. And if you also want to swap out the anti-friction glide rings, those will pop right off. And you can get a bunch of different colors for those also. And then that just pops right back on, and you can put the faceplate back on. But while it's off, I do want to show you that you can actually see the Hall Effect joysticks in there. You see the red. And, while this is off too, it does look like for repairability, there are some Torx screws in there, it looks like. So if you did want to repair it, or if you had to, it looks like you can get further into the controller if you need to. And again, faceplate just goes right back on. And next up, I want to go over some of the other buttons that this has. Again, like I showed before, there is some extra buttons on the back that you can map things to, which is nice. And honestly, while holding this, it'll take a couple minutes for you to get used to, but I think you can get used to not accidentally hitting them. So those are nice for the extra options. On the bottom, you have your 3.5mm headphone jack, and you do have a microphone mute button. And right here, there is this M button, which is the mode button, it looks like, per the manual here. And you can use this to swap to different profiles on the controller, which you can customize with their software. You can also hold this down with the options here, down to lower the audio, up to increase the audio. And heading over to the Gamesir Nexus software, I downloaded this through the Microsoft Store on my computer. So on the main window here, you have a couple different options. At the bottom, you have an update that will go through and make sure your controller has the latest firmware. There's an option here to vibrate the controller. It'll just do a light vibration there. And then there's profiles, which is where most of the goodies are going to be that you're going to want to mess with. Now for the polling rate here, you can have it stay at the default 250. You can take it up to 500. Or you can take it up to 1000 hertz. And if you do that, the headphone jack will be disabled. And then you have options here for a few different profiles. And you can go in, customize what each of the buttons does. You can customize what those buttons on the back of the controller are set to do. You can customize your sticks. You can also have them go to RAW mode, which will expand the area that you can cover with them. And there's also an option here with the triggers, so you can see just how sensitive the triggers are here also. See, I'm just lightly hitting the right one, and you can see it going up. There's also an option in here to initiate a hair trigger, and what the hair trigger is going to do is when you have that going on a trigger, as soon as you hit it, it's going straight to 255. So it's removing the dynamic aspect of it and just making it basically a static 1 or 0. Either you're not hitting it or you're hitting it all the way. So if you don't want that and you want that extra precision, make sure you leave that off. Again, you can do that with both of the analog sticks, the back. And then heading over to the vibration options here, you can have it so that the vibrations for both sides go off at the same time for the upper and lower quadrants. So I will show you that here. And the left side. And with the software, you can go through and customize how much vibration do you want that to do. So let me take the left side up to 5 and let's see what happens. That's a pretty strong vibration there. So you have a lot of customization options in here, and again, you've got multiple profiles that you can do. And with the controller, if you have multiple profiles saved to it, you can just hit the mode button at the bottom, and then XYAB will let you go to the different profiles. So good customization options in the software. And lastly, I want to give my thoughts as to whether or not I think the G7HE is actually worth it now that I've had about 2 weeks of hands-on time with it alongside the standard Xbox controller. And I do feel that for the money, the G7HE is the better offering at this price point, but only if a wired controller is not a deal breaker for you. I know some people are in situations where they have to have a wireless controller, and if you're in that situation, then the G7HE is not a good option for you. But with it being wired, that means you never have to worry about batteries, and it does have a detachable USB-C cable, which means there's plenty of cable options out there. But aside from that, the controller just has a better build quality and feature set versus the standard $50 Xbox controller. Some of the features that you get with the G7HE, you don't even start to see from the Xbox line until you move up to their Elite controllers, which cost over twice the price. Those features are things like the extra rear buttons, the rapid trigger option, which I showed you in the Gamesir software, the multiple profiles. So, some of these nice premium features that the Xbox Elite controller has, the G7HE is also bringing in at less than half the price. The only trade off is, of course, it being wired. And another perk with the Gamesir G7HE is that you have post purchase customization options. If you want to change how your G7HE looks, you can just buy a new faceplate. They have a ton of different options. It's compatible with all of the faceplates that the G7 SE has. And every now and then, they'll also do brand deals with games, so you might be able to get a faceplate for a game that you're into. But overall, I think that the G7HE is really a good value at this price point. You're getting a lot of features that are typically associated to controllers that may cost over twice the price. So it is a product I can recommend so long as it being wired is not an issue for you. But that's going to be it for today. Again, a huge thanks to Gamesir for sending this controller my way. If any of you watching have any more questions, feel free to drop them down below in the comment section, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. And of course, thank you to all channel members and viewers for the continued support. See you guys around.